Creation of 6 million jobs was a little bit ambitious. Do you feel that with the lack of detail on how those jobs were going to be created, that we should adopt a wait-and-see approach for the second State of the Nation address?
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. I think when we discussed this yesterday, the kind of market expectations, as I mentioned to you, were quite benign. They weren't expecting a fair amount of detail, and in that respect, they weren't disappointed. So, when we looked at some of the bigger themes in the president's speech, certainly, we were looking for some commentary around infrastructure, which he did mention. A lot of talk around the labor unrest in the mining sector, talks around the shale gas, for example, and the prospects in the South African economy there. But all of this is very much at a higher level, as I indicated to you yesterday. And so I think the market's still throwing forward to that budget speech that's going to be happening at the end of this month in terms of trying to glean any further detail on that particular front. How was the speech actually taken? I think, in its stead, very much benign in terms of the market's reaction thus far. And specifically, I think some of the key focal points around the currency and the reason for the currency weakness, that was certainly viewed with some degree of interest by market participants. So with markets' muted reaction, do you think there would be anything worth the wait, as he did not spell out most of the details, like as he coyly said, we will wait for the next administration to detail out a plan? Yeah, I think, the comment around the fact that the State of the Nation was rather backward-looking, it wasn't very much a forward-looking address where we mapped out the way forward. I think that caused a little bit of a disappointment in the market. But remember, we've got to look at this in the context of it is an election year. So I don't think inappropriate in making the comment that that's probably the role of the incoming government to make those kind of announcements. What I will be watching for is obviously post the elections and maybe even during the budget speech, we want to see more detail around that national development plan, because that has a significant amount of buy-in from the private sector, maybe less buy-in from labor, but I think that's kind of a roadmap that the country has, but we need more detail around how we're going to actually bring that into operational policy changes, and I think that's what we're looking for on a much longer-term strategic basis in order to inform whether this economy has the ability to grow at that 5% type of level. When we look at other emerging markets, they've turned out higher growth rates, but they also have much larger imbalances than we have. So, yes, we will get bucketed with the other emerging markets. Currently, we are underperforming those if you look at us over the last 12 months or so, and that's why the need for actually showing how we're going to get this plan to jump onto the next growth curve is that important. Well, I wish I could go on and on. I have little time, but I wish I could have you in the studio to talk more about the State of the Nation address, and especially more so that we are going to have the second one later on in there and the budget speech. But thank you very much for your time in the meantime. It's only a pleasure. Thank you.